Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So I'm John Rocha. Today, as you all know, we're going to be discussing joints and gutters completely repair. We have a specific solution for that. Today, I'll be followed by my colleagues Rui Monteiro and Alexandra Pinto. They're part of technical department. So for those who are here the first time, just to let you know, we have a chat comment section. So feel free to make any question during our presentation. Once again, thank you, Rui. Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank you.
Thank you, João.
So gutters, gutters play a very important part in the integrity of the building. And it's important to mention, since most of the times they're out of the sea, people don't really pay attention the really importance that they play. So the main function is to collect the rainy water from the roof and do the downspouts and drain outlets, move them away from the roof. It's important to mention, since this material is out of sea, it lacks with a lot of problems. We're going to be discussed a couple of those today. For instance, the main one I would say it's eventually a leaking inside the building. There are many types of gutters. I decided to classify it in these three categories today. So when it comes to finishing, we have there, this is the most common one, are there galvanized, like with gutters, stainless steel, not very common, but we can find also a masonry gutter. Slope is pretty simple. There's gutters with slope and no slope. With no slope, Alexandra, this is a very specific type of gutter because they work under water pressure, correct? So once the water comes in the outlet.
Yeah, once the water achieves a specific pressure, then the drains will activate and drain the water very quickly. Yeah, and for these gutters, you don't need actually any slope.
Yeah. When it comes to the connection, this is the most common. We have then welded, or overlapped, or riveted, and then we also have a sort of a section and connection. As I mentioned, we're going to discuss these problems today, and I think it's important to mention those because most of them, as you will see, will come for different reasons, but I think in the end, just the lack of maintenance, it would absolutely help just take a look once in a while. This is a very common one, so it's inadequate pitched gutters. What happened is, so you don't have the proper slope of the gutter. What happened? You have a stagnant water or pounding water on them, and this will accumulate in that specific point, and then eventually would lead to corrosion, depending on the materials. We're starting a very fast process of deterioration of the gutter again, and then leakings and everything. Alexandra, there's something you would like to mention here in this type of problems?
No, this is a very common problem on gutters where the water cannot flow properly. Just a minute.
Yeah, I can handle here. So most of the times these gutters are a problem for the building, because for the warehouse, what this causes, it's the corrosion. The corrosion, it's you gain it because of the dust that is in the dust that is in the gutter, the garbage that most of the times goes to the gutter, and when this happens, most of the times the gutters are cleaned year by year or 2 years in 2 years, and this takes that the corrosion starts and keep there, and what we'll do is create some openings on the gutter, and we'll do the passage of the water to the inside, and this is a serious problem, because nowadays we know that we have different solutions from these cases. Most of the times we have solutions like liquid membranes, like some tapes to put in the holes that are open, some patches that we are putting in the gutter along the time, and we know that that will not be the solution for a long time. And this presentation and these situations that we present here to you, it's something that we would like to help you to understand and to provide you some solution from our side. Okay, thank you, João.
Absolutely. Wait. So we have Alexandra back. Alexandra, we already discussed the other one. So I would like, this is another situation. So when it comes to clogging, so what causes this? What are the main reasons?
Yeah, João, especially when the surrounding area has a lot of trees, or it's close to the sea, and it's very common to find a dead bird on the roof or something like that. We can have these obstructions of the drain of water outlets. So the most important here is maintenance. It's make sure that the gutter is clean, is properly cleaned, and that we have no residues on the gutter, because this will most probably cause the obstruction of the water outlets, and not the water will not drain properly, and then we can have leakage, because the water will reach a higher level. But this will also contribute to a quicker deterioration of the gutter surface, because it creates a completely different environment on the gutter. So this will most commonly contribute to the development of corrosion or other pathologies associated with this.
Yeah, Alexandra, and I think it's important. I mean, when it comes to clogging gutters, this will, of course, will depend of the surrounding areas. If you have as much or no trees, and this will, of course, it will determine your maintenance plan. So if there's none, or if you see that there's a clean, and this you will do just less if there's more leaves or this type of dust coming in through. And I think it's important to mention all this type of problems. They're sort of like a snowball. One problem leads to another. So
completely.
Here it's another very important thing to mention when it comes specific to the joints. So the joints are the weakest point on a gutter. For many reasons, but because you have a open hole, if it's not properly sealed, depending the way you seal that joint, will come to a very fast leaking. Correct, Alexandra?
Yes, the joints are actually the weakest points on the gutter. These are the points where we have to be very careful all the times. This means that we have to be very careful when performing these joints on the beginning of the installation. We have to be very careful on the solution that we specify and use to seal these joints. But then we have to be very careful with the joints when we go to the roof and see how the gutter is, and when we go to do our maintenance operations, because the gutters will be usually the first points to cause leaks on a gutter. So it is very important to check on the states of the joint, and if necessary to apply a repair solution.
Absolutely. So this is another problem. Again, when you have lots of water coming in there, again, as I mentioned, it's sort of a snowball. One problem leads to another. And here you're starting in this problem, which is sagging gutters. So it's because of the overweight of the water coming through. Depending the way it, of course, is hanged. Some gutters are hanging, some others there's less hangers, and this will start to sagging the whole roof, which it will cause a very serious, not only leaking, but very structural damage to the construction. Another very common one, which is corrosion. This, of course, will depend what area you are. If it's closer to the sea, you know, depending on the finishing of the gutter, depending if there's pounding water, stagnant water in the gutter. So, I mean, this will depend. To come to that very strong stage, is it will depend on the project, will depend on the finishing. But most important thing is we see this when you see we don't have any maintenance. It comes to this state because they're not looking for it. They're only will understand when actually a problem happens.
Yes, that's correct.
So here are conventional solutions we see in the market. I would like to bring the specific solution, which are a liquid and coating membrane, which is all right, which is it's fine. But in comparison to ours that we're going to discuss later, it lacks a little bit in some specification. The main one, you need a specialized work to do this. And in this case, you sometimes, or most of the cases, you don't have the proper space to apply this type of materials. We know like you need to, as from the manufacturer, you need to apply a specific thickness for the whole material. We know how hard it is to apply this type of materials. So there's pretty much no way you are sure there will be the same thickness through the whole application. Any other things that we like to bring here?
Yes, of course. And João, we can't forget here that with liquid membranes, most of the times we can't do it all in the same day. It will take 2-3 days to finish the service, to finish the job, because you have to put one hand of the liquid membrane, then you apply like a grid, and then another hand of the liquid membrane.
As you see here, so there's, as we were saying, there's different coatings. The first one is with the liquid and like sort of the net to give this structure, a base to the application, and then another one. So it takes a long time.
We know this is a difficult job because we can't be sure that the thickness that we get in all the hands that we do, it's the same. So this will be and we have another problem because the cutter it's already with some corrosion, with some holes, so it will be very difficult to perform this job. And when we can't be sure that that the solution that we will use will waterproof all the gutter, we will have a problem. So we will take some other solutions like asphaltic membranes, bitumen membranes, and we'll combine them to perform one job only. It will be a problem because we know that are different materials. It will have different behaviors, and we know that we perfectly we should work with one solution that guarantees the adhesion between all the gutter and the membrane. And we know that the gutter have some rust, and we need to do this with some, how can I say it, with some professionalism. So we need to shine in our work. And when we get solutions like we go with different materials from different providers, it will be very, very difficult to have a good job done there.
Yeah, it's nice for you to bring this topic because I think I forgot to mention. So when it comes to gutter, we need to, of course, to understand are the materials being applied there. Again, when on metallic construction, these materials will be contracting and expanding depending of this changes of temperatures or seasons. And when it comes to liquid membrane, coat membrane, they're very nice for one reason, because they're highly UV stable, but they do not allow any type of movement because it's a very rigid material. So when you have a specific on joint or very long gutters, these materials, of course, after a couple years or months, depending the way it's applied, will start to crack.
Yeah.
As we see here, this is another type of application, correct, Alexandra? We see a lot of asphalt membranes.
Yeah, Bitumen membranes are quite effective, especially on flat roofs when we have space to work with them. When we are talking about a gutter, the limitation of space makes it and this is requires a specialized labor and specialized tools, and also requires some space for the people to work properly, which we don't usually have on a gutter. So it is a solution that is very hard to apply on a gutter and to get a properly well done job.
Yeah, I think it's one other. I think it's important to mention, Alexandra, is we should have a solution that it could perform it by itself. It has to be really simple, the application. It's hard to rely only on the labor work, because these materials are very good, but again, if the application is not done well, would have a lot of fails, a lot of problems.
Yeah, that will be the most tricky here, the installation itself. Yeah.
So in specific here, when it comes to the joints connection, we decided to bring this couple types. In this case, overlapped, welding, mechanical fixing. This is what we see a lot. So Effisus have a specific solution for the gutted joints. We call it type gutted 3, which is composed by a 3 level or 3 materials that we're going to talk later. So it's a high elasticity in flexible product, because it's based on an or EPDM membrane, the first layer. It's supplied in kits. It's a very easy installation. We supply all the materials you need for the installation. It's everything we need for that specific point, because it resists to the UVs. It's 100% watertight. It allows a lot of thermal and structural movements and expansion. As I mentioned, it's a 3 level. In this case, it's composed by the first one is a tubular DS tape, and then the eco facade membrane, and we applied a bit of adhesive on the sides of our bonding TF plus P. Talking more specific here of all the 3 levels, we call it a 3-level waterproofing solution. It's important to mention that those things work by themselves, but we have always an extra layer, in this case 3, that will perform very well together. The first one, as I mentioned, is a two-bond DS tape, which it's a very elastic and nice tape for specific to this joint. We do not only apply in this type of materials, we apply this tape for many solutions. On top of that, our eco facade membrane, as I mentioned, is a PDM, UV stable, and then the sealant for the perimeter. Here, I'm talking a little bit of the application. So the first thing here in this case, we decided to mark exactly where it's going to be the middle of the joint. Then we use our cleaner. Again, this will depend on the state of the gutter itself, but we decide to use our own cleaner. In this case, is the setup PR. Then we clean it, the substrate. It's, as I mentioned, the first one is a double-sided adhesive tape. You remove the foil, you apply exactly on the middle. The other one, the eco facade membrane, comes in rolls. In the case, I think it's 20 centimeters, correct?
Correct.
So you cut exactly the extension or the dimension you want. After you measure up what exactly you need depending on the gutter size. You apply that with cubitus adhesive, or bonding KF plus P, and then for finishing, you apply just around the perimeter the same adhesive. Alexandra, did I forget to mention something here in the application?
No, it's just like you said, we have basically 3 steps. We apply the 2-bond DS tape over the joint. Then we adhere the Effisus facade membrane on top of this. We bring it back, we fold it back and apply the 2 beads of adhesive. Then we put down the eco-facade membrane, and then we finished with the finishing bit of adhesive to seal the edges of the membrane.
Yeah, we do have also a couple questions here. Louis asked, can I apply the solution in concrete? Yeah, absolutely, Louis. These materials, they're all tested not only in metal gutters, depending on the finish that I mentioned, but as well on concrete.
João, just allow me to add that on concrete, it's important to check the status of this concrete. If it is very old and has lots of loose particles, then probably it will be better to apply a primer before installing the solution. We can also supply this primer, but most of the times it's better to perform this analysis to check how is the concrete and to confirm if the primer is required before applying the solution. But,
absolutely,
yeah.
Alexandra, thank you for bringing that information. So it's always important to understand the actual state of the gutter, of the materials that we're going to be applied. What we do also, we always recommend is to clean, to let it dry, let it set, to remove any other materials that's been applied previously. It's important to understand. I mean, we're talking about general application, but yeah, it will depend.
Exactly.
Jack also asked, does the adhesive has the durability of the EPDM membrane? Alexandra.
Yes, this is a system, so all components offer the same durability, and we trust on the solution as an integrated solution. So all components are compatible and will warranty the same durability.
Yeah. So here just a couple of things in regards to tight cutter trees. So it's very simple, it's very efficiency because the VDM has over 50 years life expectancy, 100% watertight, so resist to water stagnation. I think it's important to mention that any materials or all these materials combined applying to the joint itself will not damage the finishing. This is important because when we're talking about solutions like welding a joint, this in the end will damage the joint itself. So it's compatible to any gutter in dimension. It comes in kits, as I mentioned. You don't need any accessories or special accessories for this application. Everything you need will come, it will be supplied. And of course, minimize all the work on site. Here, just a photo of a application. Here talking more about the whole gutter itself, we brought Effisus outside gutter. In comparison to the other product, this is to be applied at the whole gutter. So when we have situations that the problem itself, it's not only at the joints, but the whole gutter, we apply this is our solutions outside together. This is a self-adhesive EPDM. So we will talk more about the application itself later on, but you will see that all you need to do is cut in sections and then apply the whole membrane at the gutter. So we have no size limitations. This will supply the exactly size of the gutter you have. So what we actually need from the client size in this case, sometimes a detail, a drawing detail, but a picture could also work with the exactly measurements of the gutter, and we supply the exactly materials and the quantity you need. Again, because of the material, have over 50 years life expectancy. It can go to temperatures to -30 to up to 120 degrees. Very flexible, no special materials again needed for this application. As you see here, we already have a very damaged gutter. What we decided, this is important, as Alexandra mentioned, what we decided to apply first was a primer, because again, this will depend on the actual state of the material itself. If we have two different situations here, Rui, correct, if I'm wrong. We have also clients that applied when it comes to this type of really, really bad state, but there's also some clients that apply when the materials are even new, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So this depends of the client, of course. Many times, what we need is to be present in the phase when the project are in study. So if we are present in that phase, we can contribute to start from the beginning with our solution in new gutters. So as we can see, it's two type of clients, of course, and it's two type of situations. One before the project starts, and another like a question of maintenance. When we have a question of maintenance, we need to see that the problem of the gutter it's already very serious, because if the gutter leaks to inside, it's someone inside taking with that leakage. So it's very bad. What we do is to evaluate the situation and start to thinking in protect it on all the dimension. So what we do is to place the membrane, and the gutter itself don't have any more contact with water. This way we will protect all the gutter and waterproof it. The situation here is to understand the advantages of working with a membrane like this, because many times we have a gutter, we have to remove half of the roof to remove the gutter, and with this simple solution and EPDM membrane that is also some insurance just in the name, we don't need to do it. So most of the times we have the work of getting to the site, remove half of the roof, take out the gutter, replace it, put again the roof on the location that it is. And when you do this, we have also another problem, because we will switch the roof, we will take the roof out and put it again, and this is a responsibility that most of the contractors don't want it. And what we do with this solution is just clean the area. We have all the accessories and necessaries to do the job. So clean the area. You don't need to take out the rust, you just need to clean it. And then you place our adhesive in before the membrane, and then you apply the membrane on the top. Okay, I believe that it's two type of situations: one before the project starts, when we can already start with the client in the new gutters; another in a question of maintenance.
Yeah, that's correct, Rui. I think it's important also to mention we are able to repair gutters in a really bad state. Of course, taking consideration that the actual structure would not be is not compromised. That's the only thing. But even really bad corrosion and all the types of problems, if it's proper clean, apply the primer, following all our guidelines, we're able to repair. Here it's an example of the application. As I mentioned, it's a self-adhesive membrane. It's important to mention this is not just a simple EPDM. It's a reinforced, very robust and durable material in comparison to just a normal standard market EPDM. What happened here is they divide in sections, the sides and the bottom. So what we recommend is first apply the bottom and then the sides. And here you have a very sleek and nice application for this product. Again, same thing as the tight coated 3. Outside coated is simple, efficient, no accessories, have all the other features as I mentioned for the other one. And again, as I mentioned as well, you're able to repair even in a final state gutter. Alexandra, can you talk a little bit more here about the installation?
Yeah, Jean, maybe we can just answer first to this question that we have here from Joseph, that is asking if I have a very corrugated gutter. There is no problem applying this solution. Well, we will have to understand more in detail how is the gutter actually, because I'm not sure if I'm having the right idea of the gutter shape. So probably the best would be to send us a picture or a drawing, a scheme of the gutter for us to confirm if it is possible to apply the solution.
Joseph, I would like to just say it is possible. We just have to look into the detail, of course, and we have the solution specific for that. When it comes to corrugated or different shapes, we have a flashing tape that will work together with this membrane. Again, as Alexandra mentioned, we just need to look into the detail and see exactly how we're going to apply. So, Alexandra, the installation of the outside gutter.
Yeah. First of all, we have to check the dimensions of the gutter, because we want to order the membrane with the perfect dimension for the installation. For example, if the gutter has a total development of 1000 millimeters, then we will have to order the membrane with 1000 millimeters. So after this, we will receive the membrane and prime the surface of the gutter if required. As we were saying before, the primer may or may not be necessary. It depends on the gutter itself and how this is, if it has corrosion or not, and so on. Then, if the primer has been applied, we have to let it dry, and then we will start to work on the membrane. This has a protective foil. We will mark the protective foil with the dimensions of the gutter bottom and sides, and then with a specific knife we'll cut only the foil with these dimensions, and then we will start the installation. As said, this will depend on the shape of the gutter, but usually we will propose to apply to adhere first the membrane on the bottom of the gutter and then the sides, and the installation is basically finished. We just have to make sure that we fix the membrane at the tops.
Yeah, and here at this point, you have a cutting plan. So this is the most common. I mean, this of course would depend, but this is just the most standard situation we have. It's important to mention, following this type of cutting plan, to be careful not to cut the membrane itself, but only exactly the foil that you need to adhere on the sides. Doing that way, you have sort of this overlapping on the side, which will be nice. So you will be 100% very nice, well sealed on this side as well. When it comes to the overlaps, what we recommend is a minimum of 100 millimeters. So you apply the membrane and then you overlap more 100 millimeters. What we do also recommend is to apply our Bond FT tape, which is our flashing tape. It is specific for the overlappings and as well for drain outlets. We use it there, so you just cut a hole here, you apply. It's important to mention this material, you need to apply a primer before the application. So you just use a brush to apply the primer, and then on top of that, it comes the Bond FT. So again, you don't have to worry of any of this. It all comes in kits. We supplied all the materials and all the quantities for exactly a need of the application. And you have the final solution. In this case, here you see applying the primer, and then here on top of the membrane itself. This is, you see here, the overlapping, and as well how the drain outlets are made, in this case using the Bond FT tape. So this is my contact. I hope it was enjoyable and informative for all of those that are watching. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you, Rui.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if you have any question, any inquiry, and additional information you might need, this is my contact. Feel free to just drop me an email or give me a call.
Perfect, João. Thank you.
Thank you, João. Bye-bye.
Bye.